Hey, general contractors, thank you for joining us today for our 2026 Marketing Program webinar. I'm Kevin Sterling, Director of GC Sherpa, where we focus on helping general contractors reach the top of their local market. So a couple of things we're going to go through here today. First off, we want to be able to make sure that you are setting clear goals and targets for the year, and then realigning your KPIs, that's key performance indicators, and tracking or even learning how to track to achieve those outcomes. And we want to help you map out a plan to accomplish everything that you want in 2026 with your business. And that's going to be your budget, your channels, what important trends you should definitely be on top of. And we want to set you up for massive success in 2026 and beyond. So first off, you may not know me, right? I don't know how you signed up for the webinar. We're glad you're here, but just a little bit about me. I'm the founder of GC Sherpa. We're a marketing agency built for general contractors. We have decades of experience in digital marketing, web development, conversion strategy. I used to run a generalist agency where we sort of served a lot of different people in different capacities. And I found that I really love general contractors in the construction industry. And so that's why we basically, over time, sharpened everything we did to be what you see here today, GC Sherpa. We've designed countless websites for people all across different trade groups. And we know that contractors are busy. They don't have a ton of time to handle their own marketing. And so we try and make a simple relationship where we can help you focus on your core service of building or managing construction projects and not chasing leads and trying to be a social media star, unless you really want to be. We can facilitate that. So we help smaller to mid-size and beyond construction companies. We offer scaled services. So we have an introductory package, middle package, higher tier package, and then especially if you're a commercial construction industry, we have a program that kind of address some of the main needs that you may have as also. But we want to have 100% client success rate and satisfaction rate, and we really do our best to go above and beyond for each of our clients to make sure that they're getting exactly what they expect out of the relationship. So again, just to reiterate, this is our mission. We're here for you to help you as a general contractor to grow your business so that you have a better quality of life. I mean, I think whether you're in our business, digital marketing, or your business, you hope to have a successful business that grows without you, maybe is a legacy product that you're able to pass on to other people in your family that you care about. And so we want to be basically a partner for you to try and make that happen. So let's dig into it. Let's go right to the marketing trends that are coming up in 2026 that we see. So AI, if you're not currently using it, chances are if you don't start using it, somebody is going to encourage you to use it, whether they say, hey, you've got to check out chat, or this Gemini is crazy. The adoption of AI is off the charts, exponentially rapid. And I've heard recently, if you're not happy with something happening with AI, just wait 6 months and it'll probably change. And it's especially affected search. So I don't know how frequently you're looking things up on Google, but now depending on how you're phrasing your question, AI results are top. And so it's a whole new frontier for our industry of getting our clients to the top of that rank to make sure that AI is able to pick up on what they're trying to get across to their potential customers. Other thing is online scheduling. So I know that you probably are familiar with phone tag, where you get a lead that is a call, or it is a form fill, or somebody sends a Facebook message and it's, call them back, they don't answer, text back, no answer. And you're just back and forth. It takes forever. Clients don't want to deal with that, and you don't want to deal with that. And so one of the easiest solutions that is gaining popularity is just pay the small amount of money that these apps take to allow people to book time on your calendar that works for them, so that you can connect in a low friction way. And similar to what we just sort of said, there is the two-way text messaging. So again, depending on where you're at in the scale of your construction business, you may be on the job, you may have equipment going around where you don't hear a phone, you don't feel the vibrations of the phone. So if you're missing calls, you're missing business. And so the idea of You miss a call, a text immediately goes to the customer saying, hey, sorry, we're on the job, love to get in touch with you. And then turning that into what we just said, the scheduling, is going to make sure that you're capturing and keeping hot leads hot instead of letting them cool off. And in general, people increasingly would rather communicate via text. So again, if you have a text marketing capability in your program, it's going to keep you at the top of the pack versus somebody who, again, is waiting for the contractor to call them back at a time that may or may not be suitable. AI lead follow-up. Again, this is where we have things happening in our industry that are unprecedented, and it's two ways. So Google is now rolling out a feature where if I'm looking for a contractor in a particular area, I may see somebody that I'm interested in working with. Google is now offering the option that an AI Google operator will call that business on your behalf with the criteria that you have established for what you want to achieve with your project. And Google will basically vet the vendor and then come back to me, the person, and say, hey, this person can do it for this price. They're available at this time. Do you want us to set this up? And basically connect the two. And similarly, with the missed call idea we just talked about, if a client calls you or a prospect calls you, you can now set it up so that there's an AI operator that says, hey, we can't take your call right now. Can we hear a little bit more about what you have in mind? And then we can help guide that process to make sure that the people walk away from that phone call feeling heard and feeling that their project is moving forward instead of just a stonewall of, hey, we're not available, we'll call you back. And the other thing that, again, is not new, is certainly been in the mix for a long time, but it's the authentic video content. And so a lot of people have sort of a hesitancy where they don't want to be in front of the camera because they feel like, well, this isn't polished work. I don't want to represent my company like this. But people hire people. So if you're able to bring more people into the fold of, hey, this is how we set up projects, this is how we operate on the day-to-day. And that might be little things where if you're working in someone's house and you have a video and your crew is all wearing booties so that the floor doesn't get dirty, or you're showing how you caught an error from another contractor that actually helped that client prevent a fire or helped plumbing leak or something like that, people are going to say, wow, I really like the way these people operate, that they are not just about checking the box of doing a job that they're contracted to do, but they are holistically trying to make my home better. That is invaluable. And so the idea of visual storytelling to embed more of yourself and the people that you work with into the content is certainly heightening as people crave more authenticity. So we're going to talk about setting clear goals. Okay, so that may mean different things for different businesses, but first off, we just want to remind you that sorry, my cursor's lost here. Success is goals, all else is commentary, right? So if we go into the year saying, I want to grow, and then we're putting an astronomical amount of, basically revenue target or project target without really the roadmap to get there, we're really setting ourselves up for frustration and really like sometimes confusion and anger that you're not really achieving what you want to achieve, and you'll start blaming the wrong things. So clear goals are wind in your sails. They can motivate you, they can teach you, they can guide you, and really encourage everybody in your organization that like, hey, together we have set goals and we have achieved goals. What new heights can we reach as a company? So first off, I'm just going to paste a link to this resource. This is your goal setting workbook that you're welcome to work on your own if you want to do this. So copy this link here. This is going into the chat. Perfect. Okay, so that workbook is going to walk through a lot of the things that we're discussing in this program and will help you actually put it into action. So teaching you how to set some of the goals and then some of the tools that you may utilize to reach them. So we're going to start with a current snapshot. If you know your average monthly revenue, typical number of projects that you're doing per month, and I know depending on the scale of your business, it may not be month, it may be per year that you're doing bills or you're doing enormous commercial projects. If you have an average project value, that's helpful. If you have a sales process to know the close rates from your estimate to your actual book jobs, that's also helpful. And similarly, like, what is your crew count? Like, are you understaffed? Are you overstaffed? Because that's going to help us formulate, okay, we are trying to reach this amount of revenue in total for the business, but that means we have to hire 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 or 100 people to reach that. You have to know that math, or else you're in for a rude awakening when you try and actually put that kind of growth pressure on your company. So 2026 goals, we're going to use annual revenue as a target and an ideal crew size, team count. What you can do from there is actually take the revenue and put it into revenue per employee, which some companies, again, we focus on marketing your business. There are plenty of other consultant groups out there that focus on, you know, the bookkeeping and the math side of the business. We're trying to just use it from the perspective of, you know, once you're ready to market, how do we get where you want to be with this? And also, with any goal, it's important to just ask yourself why. So you want to grow, why? If your life is good now, is it going to get better or worse if it grows? Most of the time, people have an expectation life will get better, or some improvement is going to be made, whether it's more time, more time off, more free time, more resources to do things with your family, or more extravagant vacations, or maybe your own home projects that you want to do, or, you know, a lake house with a boat, whatever. That's cool. But think about really what is driving this growth, and focus on that, and really reconcile, like, okay, how bad do I want to work to make this happen? And what am I willing to do to keep pushing on that goal when times get tough, so that you don't just give up and say, like, well, this doesn't work. So we have a calculator that we want to show you. I'm going to paste this in the link as well. And you can use this as basically a foundational resource to figure some things out. And so we're going to look at that in a second here. Pasting that. Open the tab up myself. So here is our calculator that we put together. So again, if we have a monthly target, we're going to say $1 million. That tells me how much we need to pull in every month. And if I'm doing $17,000 jobs, then that means I need to have 5 projects in progress every month. However, if I'm saying my conversion rate from lead to book job, industry average, or really like a target, is about 30%. That means I need to bring in 17 leads per month if I'm converting a third of them, and we need to have 5 projects in play at all times. And then here, you may not know this already, average cost per generated lead. And again, depending on what marketing you're doing, or maybe you're not marketing at all, it can kind of be a bit of an awakening that people might say, like, well, I'm paying $10 per lead. That's not really realistic, because if you're paying $10, I'm going to guarantee you somebody out there is willing to pay $100 per lead, especially if we know that a lead is turning into a book job is turning into $17,000 in this case. Now, here's where philosophically, if you want to call it that, some people will say your total marketing budget should be X percentage of revenue. So if we said $1 million, I want 10% of gross revenue to be my marketing budget, then that's $100,000 marketing budget. again, there are people that work specifically with remodelers and people in the GC industry who say that doesn't necessarily serve our industry well. Instead, we should look at gross profit margin on a job average, and we should be willing to spend about a third of that to book another job. So if we take ticket value as $17,000, and then let's say that I'm going to say that gross margin is $6,000, then I need to say that I'm going to spend up to $2,000 blended to get all the leads that I want to achieve this. Which, tell me if this is a wake-up call. That's a $32,000 marketing budget, and that may be on the low end realistically, because I know a lot of you are doing jobs over $17,000, especially if it's a remodel. It might be $150,000, in which case this might be 3 or 4x or more the price of that. And again, marketing is a competition. So if you're not willing to spend the money to get the customer, whoever is willing to spend the money to get the customer is the one who gets the customer. So one of the things we try and do whenever we communicate with a client about their business or the idea of working with them is basically to show them, like, how competitive is your actual market? You know, are there big players that we can show you are spending a ton of money on ads, have invested in SEO for years, and are in a really dominant position? Because if that's the case, you really need to be realistic that you are in it for the long haul to chip away at the market share, or to go in a tangent and say, you know what, nobody in this market is serving ADUs. I'm going to do ADUs. Or no one in this market has touched aging in place. I'm going to push aging in place and basically own that. And then you don't need to directly fight that big fish. So again, play with that calculator. Think about basically where you are coming in at on your budget, and that can be your starting point. So if you want, feel free to share with us like what your goal is and how many leads per month you're going to need to get there. So next, we talk about your marketing strategy. We've talked about your budget and an idea of how many leads you're going to need over the course of this next year to reach that. And so how are we going to actually get it? So this is a diagram we're going to walk through. We know that our ultimate goal is scalable growth. And what does scalable mean? It means that it's not up and down and up and down, and well, I didn't get any referrals, so we're just down until we get a referral. It's, we are going to create a system that every month we can expect 3 leads. And if we ramp it up, we're going to get 5 leads. And if we ramp it up, we're going to get 10 leads. Scalable means that when you press the gas, you can reliably move in the direction that you want it to go. So again, we just talked about it. This sector is leads. How do we start getting leads? And it's going to start with organic. So organic might be things you're posting on social media. It might be search engine optimization, where you're creating content and value on your website that Google and other search engines look at and say, this person has established themselves as the online leader in this space. And so we're going to reward their effort by putting them at the top of our search engine. That's basically what SEO, AEO, GEO, all the EOs, that's what they're all trying to do, is like put you first, because those entities have deemed that you are the most valuable in that area. So organic is not paid things that you're doing to gain the new leads. Next, we have the paid. So this is your Google ads, your local search ads provided by Google, your Facebook ads, any other kind of ads that you may be doing, where the idea is like you are paying to get the leads. Could, you know, and we primarily focus on digital, but it could be your yard signs. It could be, you know, sponsoring the Little League team or any other number of paid things that you're putting money into. And then we have your database. Most contractors don't have an existing system where they are actively communicating to past clients. They think, well, I did an excellent job. We had handshakes. We gave each other a pat on the back. We got our final check. Like, this job is over until, you know, they need something else. The best contractors are following up 30, 60, 90 a year. And then every month, hey, all of our clients, here's what we're up to. We'd love to help your friends have the same kind of great experience that you had. How about you give us a review on Google? How about you refer us to friends? Keep us top of mind. So when we start working with clients, reactivating that database, if the contractor has done a diligent job of keeping all those people in the right place, you can often shake the tree and start finding jobs just by reaching out to your old clients. And that doesn't have to require any special software. It can literally be text or phone call or email, postcards, whatever you want. But like, you've already got people that you've made happy, potentially over decades of growth. And so that is your main marketing asset when you first start out. We're talking about leads, and then now how do we convert them? Like what causes somebody who may know you really well, like if they're a past client, they may not know you at all. How do we turn them into a customer? And so number one tool in that arsenal is going to be your website. So people click from Google to your site, they're going to get to the site. What do they see? Does it look like it's up to standards? Do you look like the kind of company that invests in your marketing? And realistically, the perception is if a company can't afford to market itself well, then where are they cutting corners? And I know you're going to say, well, I run a great business without that. That's great, but I want you to think about perception. Like if you told your spouse, hey, I'm going to take you out to dinner on Friday night, and we're going to go to the crappiest looking restaurant in town, but I promise they have great margaritas, might be a tough sell. And when you roll up to that place and it doesn't really meet the expectations, they're going to say, well, I kind of wish that we had gone to that other place that looks and feels a lot more satisfying and reassuring that we're going to have a great experience. Doesn't matter what business you're in, that's managing expectations and perceptions. So your reputation, we find often that newer GC companies who are coming into it digitally oriented and from the get-go are asking every project that they're doing, and often when they start out, they're doing smaller projects, they're getting more 5-star Google reviews faster. And again, in perception, they will look like a more successful company than a 40-year-old company because a 40-year-old company hasn't maintained their digital reputation, that they might not have any Google reviews. And so the question is, if I have two companies that I don't know anything about at all, and I Google these companies and I see one of them has no reviews or maybe even some unanswered bad reviews, and then I see this other company that has 50 5-star reviews with raving fans, which one do you think I'm going to go with? And again, maybe I'll call both of them. But again, not everybody has the time to shop around and vet everybody when it seems like they're just such apparent winning options. Automation. We talked a little bit about this for our 2026 trends. So this is the text when you miss a call, the missed call text. We can also set up, or you can set this up, where people are getting texted every couple of days if they reached out about a job or are interested in working with you. We can make email drips where it's just, hey, you expressed interest in a kitchen remodel. Here's our portfolio of kitchens. Here's a video showing one of our favorite jobs we did with a client talking about how much it changed their life. You can basically set all this up so that without having to redo it every single time and reinvent the wheel, somebody shows interest in your company, and then in perpetuity, they're just constantly being streamed touch points from your company that help them know, like, and trust you, which is the foundation of sales, is getting people to know, like, and trust you. Once all this stuff is up and running, you're getting leads, you're converting them, then you have the opportunity to optimize it. And so key force there is ROI. How much are you spending? How much are you getting back? And at the base level, that's dollars in, dollars out. But really, I want you to think about that competition. And I want you to think about, if you're in a market where somebody has invested in search engine optimization and marketing for years, and you're showing up and you want to say, hey, Q1, I really want to focus on my marketing so that by Q2, we're really crushing it. I don't want to burst your bubble, but I want you to be realistic that you have a long way to go to beat that company that has done the right things for years, and you are months into the game. Because what we see in our industry is that people are interested in a kitchen, a bath, a remodel, whatever the case is. But if it's, especially if it's residential, it's in their home. It is a huge disruption, and people are averse to change. So even though they know they need a new kitchen or they want a new bathroom, unless there's something that basically is shaking it out of them, that like, hey, it's tax season, we are offering free in-home estimates for this week only. Like, you don't have to make that a policy forever, but like this week only, we're going to crush out free estimates in-home conversations. You know, you have to give them a reason to buy now. We find that our clients, they have to nurture leads for 6, 7, 8, 9 months before they come in and say, okay, we're going to do that $150,000 job. Like, the likelihood that you're going to catch somebody that is at that 90% of the finish line mark, like a referral, like if you've been running your business off of a referral for the entire time you've ever been operating, you're used to people that are 90% there. And when you start marketing, you're meeting people that are 0, 10, 20, 30% there. You have to get them a long way along the path before they're ready to buy, like that referral. Because realistically, people don't start shopping for the contractor until they're basically ready to build. And I know maybe that's not the way that they should do it, but you can go on NAHB.org, National Association of Home Builders, and you'll find articles on there about like, well, how do I pick a remodeler? And it's going to say everything else. Outline your goals, talk to the interior designer, talk to the architect, basically talk to everybody else, and then pick your contractor is basically what they do. So again, you have to play the long game in terms of how you're spending this and budgeting, you know, your total revenue to reach these marketing growth goals. What you're going to get, sort of like we had in our calculator, is that average cost per lead. So once you start making some investments and after time start getting some people coming into your funnel, you'll start to be able to say, okay, well, I've spent X amount of money so far and I've gotten this amount of leads. And again, like, the idea is you keep driving down that average cost per lead until you reach a point of stasis. And I can give you a tip. If you have no idea like how that should be estimated, go on ChatGPT and tell them about your business and where you are, what you offer, and say, please give me like a ballpark of what I should expect per lead for this business. And even for Google Ads, like, it's going to tell you what you should expect from a relatively realistic benchmark. And then what this is going to do is help you calculate a total spend. So whether it was, you know, directly based off of your top line revenue or a percentage of your gross margin, you're going to be able to say, okay, I have a reliable lead generation engine. And so like, if I want to grow next year, I need to be ready to invest 30% more into marketing to scale that system up. And that's really like, when we looked at this as we are creating a scalable growth model, that's exactly what we're doing. So we're going to dive into, you know, some of the tactics at this point. So one of the big questions, does SEO still matter? And again, if you're completely new to this, what the hell is SEO? Search engine optimization. So this is when you go on Google. This is when you go on Bing or DuckDuckGo or whatever, you know, whatever kind of like tangential search engines there are. Google's still the big king of the mountain. So that's kind of like where most of our focus is. And when people are asking, does SEO still matter? You have to ask yourself, are humans still hunter-gatherers? The answer is yes, we're always going to be hunter-gatherers. And so if you look at SEO, are people still going to look for things? Yes, of course, we're always going to look for things. SEO is how we help people find the things that they're looking for. So it's never going anywhere, despite the crazy headlines of, oh, AI is killing it or whatever. Like, AI is just another means of finding things that people are always going to be doing. So we just said, yes, SEO absolutely still matters. It should absolutely be part of a long-term strategy. And so here is basically like when we were looking at organic and paid traffic, like 71% of traffic coming from organic, that's the SEO, and then the paid search ads, 11.32%. So it doesn't mean that like, well, I don't need to do the paid ads. It's just that from a effectiveness standpoint, organic SEO is going to allow you to get way more bang for your buck once you make the investment to get it up and running than paid ads will. But at the same time, if you need to really push to hit that goal, then paid ads are a tool to help you get there. So we provided here for you a free SEO tool. I'm just going to paste the link. If you're curious, when we're talking about like, well, I didn't even know that people could look for things on AI. I'm putting it in the chat. This service will actually give you a free audit where you can look at where you rank. And again, if you don't rank at all, that's okay. I mean, that's basically why we are looking at this program and saying like, here's what's coming down the pike, because this is still so early in its infancy. Most companies aren't bothering with this at all. But if you are ready to act, you can say, I want to be all over AI, and we can help you get there. You can look at our resources and push in that direction. So here's an idea of like search volume for general contractors from the past couple of years. So we've got Google search. That is by far the leading source of people finding construction and remodeling projects. But then here, out of nowhere, we've got ChatGPT coming up in second and growing rapidly. Oh, sorry. You've got Perplexity AI. This is another AI tool growing. Bing, Microsoft Copilot is their AI tool, and then Google Gemini. They are kind of adding this into their system right now. But again, like you see how all of these, like 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the top 5 are all AI tools. So if you hate AI, that's fine. You're entitled to do that. But 80% of the sources of search are AI tools. And Google is the top and bottom of this list. You'll see it's Google search and then it's Google Gemini. They're not going to just concede defeat to all these other tools. Like they have the most vested interest to be the best at AI search. And so that's only going to get more competitive. And if you can get in there early, even if you've got that big fish in your market who you can tell has spent heavily in SEO for the past 5 years, if they haven't touched AI yet, then guess what? That's your open horizon to jump in and basically own something that they haven't even touched yet. So Google, just to recap some of this, Google's still king, not going anywhere for the time being. It's only going to be more AI augmented, but people are starting to bypass going to Google and just asking AI. And that means you really do need to dominate both places. So high level, from a principal standpoint, you need to figure out what are the most important keywords based on the service area that you're in, services you want to offer, and then also the volume. So, we find sometimes that, it might be somebody's main service that they want to offer, but nobody where they are is really looking for it. And so we have to basically be upfront with them and say, like, you don't really live in a great market to make that happen. Like, you might want to expand, or you might want to rephrase it, or think about something else you could offer that's more marketable. And then on your website, from a foundational standpoint, we design websites with SEO in mind that optimize for either a single city or a state or a national entity. And those are all different approaches that we would use for the website. And what that means is that each service in each neighborhood or city or state should have its own subpage that's basically targeting people in that. And then again, so the search and AI engines can basically read and say, like, okay, this person really does a lot of ADUs in Omaha. So that's because we see like an Omaha page and an ADU page and like the crossover of ADU and Omaha. Your website has to be fast, has to be accessible for persons who may not be able to see or hear. And otherwise, like, it has to function from a high level standpoint that when Google sends traffic to it, people don't get there and it's like, well, the site crashed, or, well, the site's really slow, or the text is blurry, or whatever, the photos are bad. Google can assess all those things. And there's actually a free Google tool where you pop in your web address and it'll give you a mobile and a desktop rating of like how good your website is. Optimizing for SEO. So SEO has on-site optimization, which is where you're baking into the code of the website meta descriptions and keywords and title tags and all number of little technical details. And then off-site optimization, where you're trying to cross-post on other websites and do guest posting and do what are called backlinks, where you're going out on the internet on websites that you think are relevant to bring traffic to your site. And if they give you a backlink, then Google looks at it as an authority builder for your site. And then most importantly, track your results. So Google has a tool called Search Console, where they will actually give you real-time diagnostics of things you should do to improve your site. There's also a lot of paid SEO tools that will say, like, here's where you rank in this area for these keywords. And over time, you can sort of see like, hey, great, like you're starting to rank for more keywords. And that's basically like blowing a bubble up that's just expands over a map. So we've presented here a keyword list that you can use as a general contractor. And again, depending if you're residential or commercial, you may want to kind of update this based on what your particular niche is. I'm just going to grab the URL and put it in here so that you can go through that and do some research on your own. And it's actually two parts. So here we have general contractor, and then we actually do just a little piece on home remodeling and renovation. And it sort of gives you an idea about like how to build it. So like Kansas City remodeling contractors, basement remodeling. And again, if you don't do these services, like you can add and subtract as needed. But hopefully it gives you like an idea of that. And similarly, AI search terms. So these are the basically approaches that AI uses when it's indexing page content. And so you would not only research these keywords, but you could build content out about like why you are the best home remodeler in, Arkansas or something like this. Like it's basically what you're going to do. But the keyword research gives you a content strategy, and then you are building content to fulfill the keyword strategy. And that's pretty much like what you're trying to do with SEO. So again, you can go to the URL I posted there. It's a nice fancy little PDF that we'll give you, and that'll help you start to foundationally look at where are the opportunities in my area. We do offer as a service free, if you would like for us to run that report for you and say how visible are you online right now, what is a custom keyword list that we think would benefit your area, where do you rank from a map standpoint, are you showing up in directories consistently, because Google also look at, well, Yelp says their phone number is this and yellowpages.com says it's this. That's a problem. All that information should be consistent, so we can run an audit for you of that. We look at your reviews and your online reputation. We look at your social, and we look at your conversion effectiveness. We'll provide all that for free if you just agree to have a little conversation with us about your business. Either way, you can get that, and you can book at the link here. So we'll post that also. Perfect. So we talked a little bit, we've touched on a few of these things. So on-page SEO, that's building service pages and city pages. all the titles, tags, code level things we talked about, and then every page should have unique content. So if you basically just duplicate everything and change, Phoenix to Scottsdale to Albuquerque, whatever, Google doesn't like that. They feel like you're being lazy and trying to game the system. So you actually have to do the diligence of creating unique content that talks about, what you actually bring to a particular market. GMB, this is Google My Business. Hopefully you have this page for your business. If you don't, this is what gets you to show up on a map, which is crucial. Google now shows this above the other search results, unless, I'm going to caveat that, unless it's AI. They're now putting AI at the top, and then they're usually splicing in ads, and then, sort of the map in there. But map's not going anywhere. It has a whole component of the citations we talked about, which is those other listing sites like Yelp, like Foursquare, like yellowpages.com. We can optimize that by featuring the services and locations, and the about, all of that can be basically optimized the same way that you can SEO optimize your website. Regarding content, you don't want this to be one and done. Like realistically, Google is going to reward consistent output of blog posts, social posts on the Google My Business. And what they really want to see is that, like, you're an expert in your field, you have authority in it, you have trust in it. And again, you're going to try and cultivate backlinks, whether it's like to client websites, whether it's to the services that you have on your Google My Business profile. And then internally, they want the content to be easily navigable. So, it might seem like, well, I'll do the SEO on myself, but almost every day, Google Search Console will tell you, hey, here are things that we would like to see you do to improve your SEO, the SEO on your website. And if you ignore that, then you're kind of at the mercy of any other company that is like investing in keeping all that stuff up to snuff. And as a contractor, like, you should kind of understand how codes work and the idea of like being inspected and being code compliant. The same exact thing works on SEO. Is you basically have this governing body, which is Google, coming in and saying, like, here's how we would like for you to change your website, and you can take it or leave it. But if you want to be found, then it's to your best interest that you follow it. Recapping, just key ideas. You've got conversion drivers, you have online booking, two-way chat, and phone calls. And that's kind of like the easiest way for people to get a hold of you. We encourage you to have real images. Again, like, Google's rewarding authenticity. So, like, don't just use stock photos. Like, show us your team, show us your projects, and be real. Like, doesn't have to be polished. Like we talked about, it's better for you to show that, you are meticulous about details and actually do it on the job than it is to kind of look like you never set foot in the field and that your people are, not really invested in what you're doing. So some ideas, you could have a welcome video on your website that, again, adds that personalization of know, like, and trust, tells who you are, why you do what you do, who you like to serve. And if you have the capacity for videos, like, excuse me, do the videos for each of your services. Talk about why you're the person for the job versus the competition. And then, you may be a humble person. That's totally cool. I get it. A lot of people don't like to talk about themselves, but adding the social credibility of your reviews. So if you have all 5-star reviews, there's no reason why you can't put those on your homepage, so that people see, like, all right, this person isn't fly by night. It didn't fall off the turnip crop. They've been around for a while, and showcase those reviews. Couple of basic things. If your website doesn't have your phone number very prominent, like we usually recommend, like upper right, like people tend to read websites in like an F, like you imagine an F being overlaid on page. So like top bar, they'll go all the way over to the right. And don't quite go as far on that next piece. And then they kind of like scan the left column. So the phone number top right, and it should be clickable. So when they are on their mobile phone, they click that, it's going to just dial you immediately. Definitely have a web form. And again, it's up to you if you want to say, let's divide the form by like services. And I encourage you, test the form, because there have been so many times that we have started working with a client and we test their form and the form doesn't even work, that like they're not actually even getting the leads. And then they look and say, oh man, I didn't even know. And all these leads were there. Like it could have really changed my business. So test the form, and honestly test it every quarter, because we find sometimes forms will just break because something didn't get updated on the site or there's like some regulatory change. You should make sure that that thing works constantly. And then just like those 5-star reviews, how can you add credibility or authority to your site? So Better Business Bureau, Angie's List Rating. Are you a member of a trade group like NAHB or the AGC, or just some other local group that maybe people are going to recognize? All of those things help people say, okay, this person is invested in what they're doing, so we're comfortable working with them. Every page needs to have a call to action, so it's not just like, hey, here's our services, hey, here's our team, here's what we do, but it needs to be, here's our services, here's how we've made 1,000 customers give us 5-star reviews. We would love to do it for you. Please call us today. Like, it's got to have that call to action that tells people and how you would like to be communicated with. Is it chat now? Is it text us? Is it call us? Is it fill out the form? You have to decide that. Coupons and offers. We talked a little bit about this. If you're a general contractor, unless you're doing like storm work or repair, emergency kind of stuff, you're not selling needs, you're selling wants. Like, people can probably struggle with a bad bathroom for a while unless it's leaking. They can wait on the kitchen. Like, you have to, again, kind of shake the tree and add the imperative that like, now is a great time to buy. And that could be like, again, we use the idea, like, I know a lot of contractors don't like to do free estimates. That's fine. But like, what can you offer? Maybe it's an on-site, like, hey, for this market, we're going to do a meet and greet at this restaurant catered by us. Let's talk about your kitchen dreams. And then, go from there, right? Like, you basically have to think about what your hook can be that are causing people to like start moving the needle towards a job. We talked a little bit about live chat. So this is great. Again, like, increasingly, people are becoming more digital. And if they don't have to send a text, if they don't have to do a form or make a phone call, live chat is fantastic. And increasingly, it can be AI driven, so that like the AI will actually sort out what people are looking for on your site and like what their contact info is. And it can basically pre-book everybody on it. And then you just show up and basically take the call, which, to recap, being able to book you online is huge advantage nowadays, where people want to do things on their own terms. And if you can say like, please grab a time that works for you, you both show up when you said you would, you can record it if you want, you can set automatic triggers to follow up before and after. It's just the way the business is being done, not only in 2025, but absolutely more so in 2026. So with follow-up, there's a real problem. And the problem is people don't follow up with their leads, right? So 50 to 60% of inbound people are not getting converted. So inbound, if you're not familiar, that's those people that call, those people that put the form in, do the chat. And again, like 90% of the web forms are failing to convert. So why is that? And realistically, if you don't follow up in 15 minutes, they're cold. Like, they called you when they wanted to talk, you didn't answer, and then you don't get back to them till that night, that day, whatever. They've moved on. Like, they've probably already called 5 other people if they're really vetting people. They've made so many calls between now and then that, like, as long as they find one person that they clicked with in that series, then like, you're basically done. And again, like, average customer has to be followed up with 5 to 7 times. So think about, are you doing it once a week? If that's the case, that's like almost 2 months that you're pushing before maybe they're not even booking a job. They just want to book a time to talk. But again, that's once a week. So how much do you have set in place right now? And how many people do you have sort of like on the hook of your leads? Like, how many text messages is that? If you're doing this manually, like 5 leads, are you really sending out 30 text messages, 35 text messages or calls to try and make sure that people are actually going to book with you. People like text. And if you can have an automated system do the texting for you, or do a lot of the phone calling for you, it makes your life so much easier. And especially for them, if they can just get what they need out of your communication platform, it makes it easier for everybody. Like, it sets you apart from every other contractor that's doing it the same way that everybody's done it for 50 years. So recapping, we just talked about this. Somebody submits a form, auto text. Somebody calls, auto text. Somebody does the live chat, auto text, plus email drips, plus phone calls. And all of this is easier than ever to automate. It doesn't require you to do the phone calls. It's not that expensive. And the ROI is really phenomenal. So here are just some, cost per lead ideas. We looked at this a little bit when we talked about, we looked at the budgeting of pretty much like developing your budget for 2026. And so like, this is pay-per-click. This is a Google local service ad. This is referral. This is like organic search. And then this blended average gives you an idea of like, okay, if you are doing all of these activities together, then on average, as a general contractor, as a remodeler, as a design and builder, like, that's what you should basically expect. Again, it's going to vary by market, and that's why there's a range, but like, that's per lead. So if you know that you need 20 leads per month because you're only converting 20% of them, then again, like, that's going to be 5 times, or no, 20 times the cost of this average to book those jobs. And again, like, transaction value, you guys already know this, but giving you just a concept of like, where can you benchmark this? Because a lot of people say, well, I've never spent money on marketing. It's crazy to me to think that now I'm going to spend like $30,000 on marketing, or, $50,000 or $60,000, whatever it is. But like, you have to understand that $1 million company spends a ton of money on marketing, because they're not just operating on referrals, they're operating on referrals plus all that other stuff, so that when referrals maybe age out, or it's like where I live in New York, there's snowbird season, and lots of people just kind of leave and they just sort of check out. Maybe those people that typically are your referrals, they're worried about playing pickleball. They're not really worried about helping you get jobs. So you've got all these other marketing activities to augment it, again, so that you can scale that system. So here, this is, again, just sort of like national averages. All this stuff, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But it helps you look at like, okay, if one job booked is getting me X amount of revenue, then it helps you understand, like, you have to spend a significant amount of money, especially in a competitive market, to win these jobs. So here's just sort of like, high level what we're trying to do. So like, we need to drive leads, and that's the organic to paid to database. We need to convert it through having a great website, a phenomenal reputation, and just automation that, you can follow up with people in your sleep. So, after you're tired from working all day, all that communication is happening behind the scenes. You go on vacation, it's happening behind the scenes. You're busy on the job and then you can't hear anything. It's all happening behind the scenes. And then optimize results. So being able to track those leads per channel, being able to assess, okay, per lead, this is what my costs are, and then how much should I spend, how much should I get? And again, that's going to start high, because you're going to have to basically ramp up the system. And then once your system is up and running, that's going to lower until you reach a point of stasis where you're basically going to be at like, okay, in my market, what is the industry average? And like basically hold that. And it'll fluctuate. So you'll say like, hey, why were the leads so expensive this month? And then you may be able to say like, oh, it's actually because it's Christmas time. At Christmas time, everybody's running ads. So ad real estate is actually at a premium, and they charge more for it. So this is kind of an old adage, is that half my advertising spend is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half. The good part about digital marketing is, more than ever, we have strong tools that allow us to understand exactly where the leads are coming from. And that's how we're able to create those pie charts that say, this percentage of traffic is going to be organic. This percentage of traffic is going to be paid ads, and even social. Like we have the ability with our clients that, like, if somebody's sending them social messages, like we're able to see like this person came in through an Instagram message, and then we showed them a retargeting ad, and then they booked on the job. And we can also say, hey, look, it took 6 months of marketing to that person before they booked. And that helps us temper expectations so that we have clients who might think, okay, like 3 months in, I should have ads, right? It's like, not necessarily, honestly, like, because if you're starting from zero and, you know, according to the internet, you're a brand new company, you're not going to be able to necessarily beat a company that has been king of the internet in that local area for years. So takeaways, you got to ask yourself, we've covered a lot. We've been at it almost an hour here. What do you feel like you need to focus on the most? And not only that, but like, where should you start? Like, what's a quick win you can get yourself as you know, as a low-hanging fruit? And then just going back to why, like, what does it mean to you if you achieve this? Like, if you've set an ambitious goal, hopefully it's for a reason, and hopefully there's basically a benefit of, you know, look, I you know, not only made more revenue, but I made more profit than ever. Like, are you able to pay off equipment and scale more? Are you able to make it so your spouse can stay home with your kids? Are you able to, you know, whatever, like, get that pontoon boat so that you and your family can have like great memories for years to come? You've really got to think about why you're making the investment, and like, is that carrot at the end of the rainbow, you know, worth changing things and being willing to stretch yourself and to take on the endeavor of growing your business through marketing. So again, we offer this as a service. We're basically giving you everything that we do. We're trying to talk about, you know, what we are looking at in our business and, you know, how we want to help our clients. But if you're stuck in this, gcsherpa.com/schedule, we're happy to talk to you about how we might be able to help you with this. And you can comment, let's talk in the comments, and we'll set up a time to connect with you about that. So I'd like for you to write this down on your own. Like, what are your top 3 action items, so that you don't walk away from this saying like, I don't really know. And it's fine, like, if you need to brainstorm or whatever, but like, take this sheet, take the workbook we provided, and ask yourself, you know, where do I need to start? Where do you need to focus the most? So we talked about SEO. You know, we talked about how paid ads interact with that. We didn't really get into, you know, how to operate paid ads. That's its own webinar we'll be running. But where do you feel like, in terms of, is it the lead generation? Is it the lead conversion? Is it the optimization? Which one of those 3 buckets do you feel like you really need to dig in? What we've covered, we talked about how to set goals, and how to set goals that motivate us and can be guiding stars to help us, you know, navigate our businesses through 2026, and how to set targets, and how to deconstruct those targets so that we understand how many people we really need to be talking to on a monthly basis, and then also tracking, like, how good are we at turning those conversations into jobs, and what are the metrics that we should be associating with this. So that led us to look at your budget, and then the channels that we have to really bring those people in. And then at the same time, what are the trend opportunities? Like, where is the market going for general contractors, that we can latch onto it, and we can be, you know, sort of first to market in our local area, because we want to set you up for massive success. So again, I just want to offer, we will do an audit of your market. We will show you kind of where you are, who the big players are, where we feel like the opportunities are. You can call us and set that up if you want, 845-533-3309, or again, gcsherpa.com/schedule. But, you know, all of why we exist is to help people like you that are running general contracting businesses, whether that's the remodeling, whether that's ADUs, whether that's commercial exclusively, and you're stuck on talent, we can help you find talent. We exist to help general contractors grow their businesses, and we hope that you've been able to appreciate time that we've spent today. We hope that you will connect with us on social. We have great channels on Instagram, on LinkedIn, Facebook, all across the internet. We are putting out tons of content, basically, that whether you work with us or not, hopefully you get value in the marketing strategies and tactics that we offer. My info is here, and we hope that you have a fantastic 2026. And again, please reach out to us if you'd like for us to be a part of your journey. So thank you again.